Hello and welcome to episode 128 of SETI BIMCO, America's most bewilderingly named yet still foremost revenge-themed podcast. I'm George O'Connor, New York Times best-selling illustrator and author of Asgardians and Olympians, and this is my co-host, Tim Hamilton.
We've both drawn cartoons and comics and books, but only one of us has eaten cake found in a bar.
Birthday cake.
But we'll tell you at the end of the episode who that was.
So as we said, we are America's foremost revenge-themed podcast. We are currently in the midst of a travel through all 50 nifty United States, where we choose a regional film from each of them to summarize and then create on the spot a revenge-themed sequel it never asked for. Today's stop on our tour is...
You picked it. Night of the Living Deb.
Yeah, you were so excited to talk over it.
2015.
2015.
From Maine.
Tim is sweating. When it's a recent film, he gets nervous.
Well, the opening's supposed to be short, and you're like going right into everything.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to cut out your age-old questions.
Oh, my age-old question about revenge, George.
Okay.
Age-old question. Benjamin Franklin.
Did he ever revenge on the $100 bill for steering his likeness?
Nope. Did he ever get revenge? Good one.
Yep.
Revenge on the kite salesman who originally sold him a kite that instead of attracting lightning, it attracted prostitutes. You know, how kites have those long tails, and it had a sign on the tail, said, hear ye, all women of ill repute. Gather round Benjamin Franklin's house at 318 Washington Drive. Because every street back then was either Washington Drive, Washington Ave, Washington Boulevard.
That's weird because he actually lived at the same time as Washington. But...
Yeah. He had a little Benjamin alleyway. Anyway.
It's SETI Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
But I'm Tim Hamilton. This is George O'Connor.
You're Tim Hamilton. Tim Hamilton. In case you're wondering how to tell the difference between us, Tim Hamilton is the one who used such outdated terms as prostitute or women of ill repute. Whereas I, being an enlightened gentleman, George O'Connor, will say sex worker.
I'm using the language of the day.
That's not true.
And one more order of Benjamin Franklin's Day.
Oh, no, what?
One more order of business. We usually like to place movies.
Yes.
Stating how many years before after Star Wars it came out, but because George picked a movie from the cursed 2000s, I just say it took place 11 years after The Passion of the Christ. I choose Passion of the Christ in the 2000s. 11 years. 2015, does, right? That's what I do.
Yep.
I've already killed George's will to do anything on this show.
I'm just going to stare out the window.
Did you eat? I hope you ate something.
I ate today.
That's all I want to say.
Tim is referring to a previous episode where I didn't eat and crashed about halfway through. It's a good one. I forgot do you remember which one it was?
I cry.
All of our episodes are good. That's the thing.
Yep, that's all I want to say. You can just talk the rest of the episode.
All right, cool. Sometimes before we jump into stuff, I like to share some of my, or the two of us could share adventures that we had either separately or apart. I just wanted to say, as we recorded this, the San Gennaro Festival is happening in New York City, where both Tim and I live. I had a pretty epic outing to there this weekend with my wife, my brother, and my mother, where 3 of the 4 of us blacked out drunk.
No, not all of you.
No. My wife was the only one who did not.
Is it going to be like the opening scene of this movie where you just wake up somewhere and you're like, where am I? Whose bed is this?
Kind of. I literally, at the end of, one moment I was having, fun drinking with my family in the streets of Little Italy in New York. And pretty much the next I was at home, passed out in my studio. Like, what happened?
Somebody on the subway has a story about you guys.
Oh, there's a lot of stories. What's really cool about this one, Tim, is that there was one person.
Okay.
Well, I do, because I was with the one person who didn't black out. My wife was able to get me home. I did hear a lot. There's also a lot of photographic evidence of it. We were having a fun family outing, so we were taking lots of pictures. So, the next day we were, examining photos, and we're like, so we were drinking margaritas, it looks like.
And your wife sent me one.
Oh, did she?
You're getting tattoos on your foreheads and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that was planned. That was before I blacked out. How about you, Tim? You have any adventures this week?
I saw the ending, Chimp Crazy. If you're listening to the show, I'm watching Chimp Crazy, a show that George won't watch, my wife won't watch. Because women that own chimps, and usually every episode there's some tragedy. So,
I didn't realize it was all about women who own chimps. It's not about.
Well, it seems like women do this. Sorry,
this is a women.
I'm in this show. Yeah, because one woman like breastfed the monkey, like breastfed
Oh no!
It. Yes.
Wait, what?
When it was young. Yep.
How? Oh.
So.
Oh, I hate everything now.
By now, the show's long over, and I'm just going to tell you the ending. They were looking for this lady, Tanya, because she was hiding a chimp they're trying to get. So Tanya's the main character through this whole movie, and at the very end, she's had the chimp taken away from her, and she can't have one. She went to visit her friend who had chimps. Wait, you reading what happened before I tell you?
No, I'm just laughing like they took the book. It's just, this is all sad.
Well, it goes to a nice preserve. They live outside. They were in little cages with her. So last episode, she's like, yeah, I went to visit my friend. I missed the chimps. And I was getting along really well with this monkey in a cage. And I thought, I can go in there with that monkey. And when she does this interview, she's covered in bandages, by the way. I'm sorry. It bit her ear off, took chunks out of her leg. Her hand was all messed up. And that's the ending. Sorry. It's not funny that happened to her, but I mean, come on. She knows better.
It's
she of all people. So there you go. That's my adventure this week. I couldn't wait to tell George how this show ended.
So that's definitely pretty high in the list of shows I will never watch. Man, that's terrible.
It's terrible. Oh, and George.
Yeah.
My wife was away, couldn't sleep. You know what I did? You're going to be happy and angry. I don't want to take up too much time with this. But I haven't seen The Shining since VHS, like somewhere in the late 80s. Rented it. And you're like, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. So I'm like, well, here it is on HBO. We all have big screen TVs now. So I watched it. Here's what I'll say. Let me say all 3 points. 1 point, all filmed incredibly well by Stanley Kubrick, of course.
Amazing looking film.
Yeah. Acting 50%. And not scary, not suspenseful. Nothing to follow there. What's her name? Shelley Duvall is like this mousy woman. And I'm like, come on, stand up for yourself the whole time. I don't like her. Don't like Jack's character. And they just get away because they get away. They fumble around and get away. Nobody does anything except he psychically gets what's his name to bring the tractor so they can get away. But pretty much they run around and hide and get away. I don't know. I still had no tension watching it. Beautifully. It's like an art film. And too much music. 50% less music. Because he was like
50%. If they could somehow turn that 50% less music into 50% more acting, we're looking at 100% film for you.
Yeah. Sorry. I know it was a kid. It's a kid actor. It's hard with kids. And I didn't care about that kid. I didn't know anything about that kid.
No, the kid is kind of slap-worthy.
So anyway, nicely filmed, but still, my opinion remains not the best.
In case you are wondering why Tim brings this up in an episode devoted to Night of Living Deb, in previous episodes, I let slip that Shining is one of my favorite movies. Yeah. And Tim reacted like I said I had a unicorn crawling out my butt. It was like the most insane thing. He's like, he kept bringing it up. He couldn't believe that Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And then he countered with one of his favorite films, White Christmas.
Star Wars.
So,
no, Star Wars.
Let's talk about this movie.
Maine. How many Maine facts you got?
I got a lot. All right.
Producer Miss Lee says we got to cram these facts into the 5-minute segment.
Producer Miss Lee says nothing of the sort. Producer Miss Lee says cut out the age-old question. All right, Maine facts. It is home to approximately 3.8 million people.
Okay,
its capital is Augusta.
I didn't know
it was the 23rd state introduced into the Union because it used to be part of Massachusetts. When Massachusetts divests itself from you, you know you're a problematic state. Its state flower is the white pine cone and tassel. I will point out that is in fact not a flower, but part of a tree. But, you know, this is Maine. Its state animal is the moose.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. Get this, man. Maine leads the country in murderous interdimensional shape-changing clowns, psychokinetic prom queens, towns full of vampires, rabid St. Bernards, and reanimated children and pets.
Well, we know who lives there, right, George?
That was my clever way of saying Stephen King lives there.
Okay, in case people don't know.
Yep. And that is actually, that's the end of my general Maine facts because Tim complains about it. I have Portland facts because this movie took place in Portland.
You can do a few.
At 68,000 people, Portland is the largest city in Maine. So suck it, Augusta. It is, as we learned in a previous episode, our episode on Oregon, it is the namesake of the other more famous Portland across the country. They had a coin flip where they could have named themselves Portland or, I want to say it was Boston, and Portland won. So that's where they get the name from.
I thought Portland was named because an old man was walking around and met a little girl, and her name was Port.
and what happened there, Jim?
He said, I'm going to name this land Portland.
Wait, there was a place, Idaho. Remember that was of the Idaho story?
That's what I'm joking about. Sorry.
Yeah, we're learning so much about the states on our tour, everybody. So as was mentioned multiple times in this film, this is where Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born, specifically in Portland, Maine. He was not born with that name, though. He was actually just called Henry Wadsworth. He is a famous poet who wrote Paul Revere's Ride, the Song of Hiawatha, and he also wrote all those stories about the man from Nantucket. You know the one?
I know those.
That's where he got his name Longfellow from. Those were songs all about him. All those limericks.
What's his full name?
His name is just Henry Wadsworth, but they called him Longfellow because you know why?
Yes.
Because he had a Longfellow. In fact, there was this one man from Nantucket. Yeah. I'm not going to continue because we're an all ages podcast. Also in Portland, it's home to Lobster Rolls, Allagash Brewing Company, and the great comic store Casablanca Comics. And most excitingly of all, shout out. I'm going to give them a further shout out later. Most exciting of all, it is home to the International Cryptozoology Museum.
Have you been there?
I have.
Oh.
And so weirdly, you would think
skeletons there, footprints.
They got some footprints because it's okay. I don't know if you know this, Tim. Most cryptids are never proven to be true. It was founded by Lauren Coleman, who is my favorite cryptozoologist. It's a great place to visit. And weirdly, you think, given that the International Cryptozoology Museum is there, that there would be a lot of cryptids related to Maine. You know, they got like their dogmen, they got their Bigfoots, they got all the normal ones. There's not a lot of specific ones. There is Cassie, who is the Casco Bay sea monster. There is Wessie, who actually turned out to be a real creature. It was a giant snake, and they actually and people were like, "This is a giant snake." I was like, "Okay," and then they actually found a snake skin that was 16 foot long of a Burmese python. So it really was a giant snake that somebody let loose. That was only like a few years ago. That's probably about the same time as Night of Living Deb was being filmed.
You know the woman who runs this place. Oh, go ahead, finish it though.
No, actually, his name, the person's name is Lauren Coleman. He's a fella.
He's also a fella? His
name is Lauren, I know.
Long fella. I thought that's what you're saying.
No, his name, Lauren Coleman, not a woman. I'm so used to saying the name Lauren Coleman because I talk about this shit a lot that I forget that that's typically is a female name.
You know who runs this place. Okay, yes. Finish your cryptids. Sorry,
I'm never going to finish it if you keep asking. The best cryptid in Maine is the Spectre Moose. Now, what was this question about the guy who runs the Cryptozoology Museum?
The woman who runs this place. Or is it a woman or a man?
It's a man. My God.
Tell him.
All right.
Tell him I got a great idea. Have the shadow, the imprint on the floor where there used to be a great exhibit and it's fenced off, and there's a little sign there saying, "We leave this empty to acknowledge that the Smithsonian was here and they stole this skeleton of this particular cryptid." Yes. Just leave it.
Reference to
people
past
be like,
SETI BIMCO episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm making no sense, am I? No sense am I making.
Really quick, I'm just going to wrap it up. First streetcar in Maine was in Portland in 1895.
Sounds good.
And apparently there was a famous railroad strike in 1916 to the Portland Railroad Company about those streetcars. I think a lot of people's legs got cut off.
Yes.
And at least one lobster.
You want to give us a quick synopsis, and then I interrupt you?
Yes.
Halfway through.
So, all right, yeah. So the movie we're doing tonight is called Night of the Living Deb. I think last episode I mistakenly identified it as a musical because it was actually confusing with another zombie film I had seen. And I was happy to... Tim wrote to me midweek. He's like, this isn't a musical. And I'm actually happy it wasn't because that other movie wasn't as good. This is actually, I think, is a good movie.
You can't pick good 2015. Movies, George. I don't know what to do about this.
You enjoy the movies. And you don't... There's more to watching a movie than the pain it inflicts on your co-hosts and your hypothetical listeners. Like Tim said, it came out in 2015. It was directed by Kyle Rankin, written by Andy Seltzer from a story by the two. What's kind of cool, this is a super local film, which is what we're trying to go for. Filmed in Portland, Maine, because that's where Kyle lived. And it was a kickstarted film. About... Are you ready to play the George's Current Currency Kerner?
Yes, go ahead.
George's Current Currency Kerner. All right. So they kickstarted for over $100,000. And do you want to know what $100,000 is worth now?
$200,000.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big guess from this 2015. I was pretty appalled how much it was. $100,000 in 2015 has the spending equivalent of $132,815.79 today.
I'm appalled too.
And here's the part that I'm truly appalled about. As you know, we often go to IMDb to find information about these movies.
Uh-oh, we got the wrong state?
No. Everything was right about that. However, you know what the budget is listed as on IMDb, despite the fact you can find articles all over the place, including Kickstarter, which said how much this movie is made for?
Okay, what's it say? $million.
Estimated $20 million.
Oh, wow.
How?
Maybe that's what they thought they made.
I actually was wondering that. I wonder if it's box office as opposed to... Which, if this movie made $20 million, congrats. You made this thing for about $100,000. You made $20 million. Congratulations. That's fucking awesome.
Yep. We like to make fun of movies here. We don't usually pick movies so recent. So if you're alive and listening to this, we're just having good laughs. We're not laughing at you.
Hey, and I'm going to say spoilers. I really like this movie. This is not my first time seeing this movie. Yeah, we will make jokes about it, but we will also say things that are nice about it. Like as we've said recently, we've never made a movie.
Nope.
And yeah. And this movie, would you agree, Tim, maybe too good for Seddy Bimco?
Yes, it is. I know that.
Yeah, this had some there's some real movie vibes in this. All the actors have acted elsewhere.
And remember, when we did a movie called The Being, it took place on Easter. And this one takes place on the 4th of July, another movie that takes place on a specific day. So I just want to get my one list out of the way.
Oh, right off the bat, let's hear it.
Other movies that take place on the 4th of July.
Ooh, does Bored on the 4th of July count?
What? I don't know. I haven't heard of that one. So there's
that was that Tom Cruise one where he's the Vietnam vet.
Oh, really? Never heard of that one.
Oh, wait, I ruined one of your lights, didn't I?
There's Porky's 3, Porky's Revenge. That took place on 4th of July.
Okay.
And believe it or not, there's Porky's Pimpin' Pee-wee. That's basically Porky's 4, a movie they made just to make sure they kept the copyright. That took place on 4th of July. He's got to look it up. But you want to guess what the third one is, 4th of July?
Born on the 4th of July.
Passion of the Christ, George. Passion of the Christ. By the old world calendar. That was on the 4th of July.
That's amazing that you can figure that out. Especially given nobody's really sure when Jesus lived and died.
Well, people write about how the fireworks are going off while, they were hanging there.
I hope that somebody involved with Night of the Living Deb is listening and just turning off the podcast and discuss right now. Let's talk about the movie. So
this movie,
we're introduced to, you got something?
No, this movie.
All right. We were introduced to Deb, who my first reaction was I thought she was Kimmy Schmidt, the same actress.
Yep.
She's not. She's Maria Thayer.
No.
And she played a memorable guest role on 30 Rock. She was the blind woman, I think, that Kenneth falls in love with.
I forget. But she did a good job. They all acted fine.
Yeah. She actually, I'm going to say, she was kind of adorkable. Like that was, I think, what they're going for there. She was like it was a fun character. Like in a way, she had like the dumbness of a Homer Simpson. Like there's a lot of like just kind of like, but she was also like very capable. Pretty cool character, actually. You don't see that a lot, especially with female leads.
And her friend is Ruby, who hates 4th of July, and she owns a Christmas store.
Yeah, I think it's just that she loves Christmas so much. I thought she was Melissa McCarthy at first.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's 4th of July in Maine. She's wearing a Christmas sweater in a bar. It's got to be uncomfortable.
Gotcha. And they meet Ryan, who looks like Ant-Man, right? Does he look like secondhand
that's
Ant-Man?
Interesting. You thought he looked like Paul Rudd. I wrote he looked like the dude from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, who I thought he was for a second.
Maybe those two guys had a child, and this is him.
Yep.
Ruby tells Debbie to go say hi to that Ryan guy because he's cute, and they both like him.
Yep.
And
because apparently every night they go to this bar and just lament what losers they are.
And they don't know anything about him. This is the only weak part of the movie I'll talk about. She doesn't really know anything. She's just like, yeah, go talk to him. And she takes his drink that was for him. I don't know how that happened. And his real girlfriend shows up.
This is actually something that, like, because I watched it more than once, I've picked up a little bit more.
Okay.
She already is drinking White Russians. And she's going into this thing with like a kind of magic, like it's actually something that's a little bit stated. And I thought it was kind of well done in the movie, is that they're not a good couple. Like she keeps reading too much into stuff. And one of the things she's reading to is he's ordering himself a White Russian. And she thinks that he's like, oh, you know, my favorite drink. And she takes it.
Yeah. And his real girlfriend, Stacy, right? Is that her name?
Yes.
She shows up and she wants him to take a job with his father's company so they can be rich. And he doesn't want to. And she's a very broad, snobby kind of rich girl. Yeah,
she says, happy independence. Well, and in the middle of it, our main character, Deb, is just like thinking she's making time with this guy as he's fighting with his fiance and drinking his drink. Yeah. And finally, and eventually what happens is Stacy breaks up with Ryan. You know, she goes, happy Independence Day because we're through, which I figure is the entire reason they must have done the Independence Day setting for that line.
I guess. And she's like, yeah, go watch Porky's 3 on your own this time.
Yep. And wasn't it Porky's 4 a second ago?
Oh, 4, yes. Yeah. No, 3.
Tim.
3 and 4.
Pimp and Pee-wee was 4, I thought.
I don't think that counts. It's not canon.
And she leaves him there. She says goodbye to these, lifts up her shirt, but it's not really. She's showing a little tiny picture of her 2 cats, Trixie and Mayberry.
Yes. Funny jokes.
Yeah, that was pretty.
He goes, Trixie.
I'm going to miss those cats. And this is intercut with scenes where this is almost like a flashback. We actually know already that Deb has woken up after a one-night stand with Ryan.
Yeah, they just kind of skip the night, and she wakes up there.
Yeah, she wakes up in his apartment and she falls into his toilet because he left the toilet seat up. I wrote, just like you, Tim. Previous episode, listen for the story of how Tim once lost a girlfriend because he left up a toilet seat at her sister's house.
Did you ever wake up anywhere and not know how you got there, like this past weekend?
Why just this past weekend, Tim? I'm happy to report I didn't fall into a toilet, though my wife reports that every 5 feet on the way home, I lamented aloud, I have to pee. Are we home yet? I got to pee. So it's only but for the grace of just a few coincidences that I didn't end up like Deb falling in a stranger's toilet.
And here's where I didn't like Deb, because she hears him say, I got to get rid of her. She won't leave. She's here. I mean, if I heard that, I'd be like, okay, I'll be polite and be like, yeah. See you later. But she's still like, he doesn't like you. Why she pretends to be like, I want to stay. I want to go with you to your party on 4th of July.
Yeah, she's trying way too hard, and I was thinking a lot about them. Like they're definitely doing the adorkable thing where you're supposed to be like, oh, she's so awkward and cute, but it's definitely something that could be like if you reverse the genders, if it's him doing it to Deb, you're like you're called the police immediately.
Right.
Like this guy's like a freak.
So they don't get along.
There's some really great lines here. She does this weird story where she kind of is like hinting that her mom is dead and recites this Longfellow poem. This is her thing. She does it, but then she's like, no, my mom's actually fine. And then she realizes she has to call her mom, right? No, that's afterwards. No.
She calls her mom at some point.
She
There's
eventually
just a bunch
leaves.
of things like, you want coffee? And he's already had it. And and she acts like, oh, we're going to go to your 4th of July party. And I think I forget what he says, but he's
like, I'm going to spend it with my family who I love and stuff. So basically he has to work pretty hard to get her out of the house. And it's pretty clear he has no interest in her. They don't have anything in common. She keeps being really disparaging of his life choices. So it's like, what are you doing here, Deb? And she gets into her car, and he's actually waiting around the corner for her to leave so he can get back to his house.
Because she's like a grumpy, she has a junky car.
Yeah.
Just make it clear. He's kind of a neat freak. He's like, I like to do this. I like to conserve gas. And she's he's all like environmentally conscious. She keeps making fun of that. He's very physically fit. She's just kind of she's a Homer Simpson, like a hot Homer Simpson, but Homer Simpson. He's like a non-Christian Ned Flanders. How's that work? Works good.
It's not a great thing.
This is how Shaun of the Dead kind of starts, except they left out the before scene, but he goes shopping and for coffee, and the coffee guy is barista. They're called baristas, George. He's a zombie.
Baristas. What does barista mean, Tim?
Barista means I serve you coffee.
In what language?
No, I serve you coffee in this cup. That's a
lot. Yes, Ed, Tim. While she's in her car and she sees a bunch of kids eating a dude, she's like,
Yep.
And then she sees a guy running around the corner, and he's got a baseball bat, and he hits a lady right in the face with it. And she goes, man, the parade's really going downhill this year.
I know.
Which I thought was pretty funny. And we cut back and forth to Ryan. He's in the coffee shop, and he sees Java Joe, who is the barista. And he's like, dude, why are you eating a foot? Because the guy's eating a foot. And so it's a zombie apocalypse that's going on.
Yep. And they all get back to his apartment. I forget how she gets back. Why does she turn around?
Well, he's being chased down in the street, and she saves his life. She throws the car in reverse, runs over 3 zombies that are about to kill him, and they run over. And there is another line that's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Where they immediately pick up on it's a zombie film, which I always appreciate when you're a zombie film where they actually agree, like we're in a zombie movie, right? Or this is a zombie apocalypse.
Yep.
And she goes, well, at least they're not the fast type and they're the cerebral palsy type. And she points at this one coming down the street. And he goes, oh, that's Manny up the street. He really has CP. And I'm like,
somehow I missed that.
It's kind of a weird joke. So they get into the apartment and we learn a little bit more. She works at the local news station because they're flipping through the stations and all the news is off. Everything's shut out except for the local news station. And he's like, well, it must not have gotten across town. They're still broadcasting. She says, no, I work there. We know we record the news a day in advance. We have to go listen to the radio. So they listen to the radio and they realize everything's really happening.
Yep.
This is when she actually tells the story about her mom with the Longfellow and thing and stuff. Realize she hasn't called her mom.
Call her. Yeah.
She calls her mom on the cell phone, and her mom does one of those things like leave a message. No, I'm really here. No, but really leave a message. Finally talks to her mom and has one of the lines that made me literally laugh out loud in this. She's like, too. She goes, Mom, are there like people eating each other's flesh near you? And she goes, Deb, I'm in Virginia Beach, not Florida.
That's right. I did hear that.
Yep.
Poor Florida.
She also tells that really weird story, which has a really weird callback later. I'm just going to mention it now and hopefully get to it later.
Yeah.
Deb, while talking about her traumatic childhood, tells this story like it's supposed to be like that scene from Gremlins when Phoebe Cates is talking about her dad being stuck in the chimney. Yeah. She's like, I used to love 4th of July. And then one year, my dad, we couldn't find him. And I went out in the backyard and I saw him laying down on the ground. And you think it's going to be like this whole story about like how he died. And she goes, but he was just changing the propane tank on the grill. And he cooked such good hot dogs. It was the best whatever. And even Ryan's like, that's really fucking weird. Why are you telling me that story?
Yeah, they had some funny stuff in here.
Yeah.
We get more of a... They
go upstairs because she needs her because she has the car. They go upstairs to check on his upstairs neighbor and get some food from there because she won't eat the beets and such he has. And we get to see our first up close thing with the zombie. Mrs. Jones is in there, and like she's died peacefully. Yes. And you know, this is a zombie film. We know it's going to happen.
And they kill her with electricity, which I thought that doesn't work. I thought you're supposed to shoot them in the head. They gave her the bite on the electrical wire.
Yeah, and then they use from a light that's plugged into the clapper, and then they kill her by.
That's right. Sorry, forgot.
Clapping.
Clapper.
Yeah.
Oh, clappers. You remember
and
those?
She gets electrocuted. Did you know anybody who had a clapper?
There were many versions, and we had one.
Did you really? Where was it in your house?
A light.
And is it your family or is this like you? Okay.
But it whistled. You had a whistle, and here's what happened.
Wow.
Our dog at the time would scratch, and he'd jingle his tags, metal tags. They go jingle, 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 and the light would turn on and off when he did that.
I don't think I could reliably whistle enough to turn on a light.
No, it has a squeeze thing that whistled.
What?
It's just a little squeeze. You squeeze it, air blows out, it whistled. That's all it was.
Wait,
so you'd be walking around the house going, where's the little squeeze whistle so I can turn this light off?
That's all right, Tim.
That's
a bad purchase you all made.
I know.
The whole idea of the clapper is that it's easy, that you could, because as long as you have two hands or even one hand and another part of your body to slap it against, even if you just smack your thighs together, you could make a noise.
Clappers were expensive, George. We got the secondhand thing.
Why is that easier than a light switch?
Don't mock us. We're saving money.
Just turn the light switch on. Tim, this is the crazy. You in all these episodes we've done together. That's the craziest thing I've heard.
My father liked gadgets. Remember, I said we had a microwave at like 75. He got that right away.
Microwave at 75. Was that how old he was when he got a microwave?
No. But
what do you mean a microwave? We had the 75? Gadgets. Oh, in 1975. Oh, 76. That does seem early. Okay.
Yeah. So.
And if you're keeping track at home, in 1975, that is also the last year Tim makes a current reference to.
Yep.
That's not true.
76 was pre Star Wars. I remember that year.
Yep.
Everything was dead.
So zombies break into the building. They escape onto the fire escape. There's a kind of awkward action scene where she rides on one I'm like, why doesn't a spider leg? Yeah, it was weird. They get into her car finally. Shout out to my favorite pizza place in
it's real.
Portland. Yeah, Otto Pizza. There's also an Otto in Massachusetts in Harvard Square. I love this pizza place. I was so excited. I jumped up and pointed. It's really good. They have a mashed potato and bacon pizza that's so good.
Mashed potato. How you say that? Yeah.
And let's see, in a Boston accent. Let's see,
because
whenever I do, I mean, actually not Boston. It's Maine. I have to do Fred Gwynn from Pet Sematary.
Oh,
mashed potato and packing. Right. Sometimes bacon's better. Anyway, we learned that she apparently lives in her car.
Yes, this is where we get the real Odd Couple thing. Her car's a mess, and he's like, don't hit the zombies. Maybe we could save them. And she's like, I want to run over the zombies.
Which is a good point, honestly. I always think that movie's like, you don't know, are these people permanently dead?
Yeah. It's like
they definitely are when she's running them over. It's like the Odd Couple. She poops in the shower. He doesn't.
Well, the Odd Couple, George, was originally, the original concept was, George?
What?
It was originally about a couple, Oscar, who really loved Hitler, and he moved in with his friend Felix, who hated Hitler, and, it was hilarity.
We've cycled back to this, huh?
Oscar was messy. Felix was always cleaning up his Messerschmitt.
His Messerschmitt. Jesus Christ.
Texar McGillicuddy. Take your joke, throw it in your face.
Texar McGillicuddy, by the way, is the possibly fictional 115-year-old joke writer who, when Tim floats a real turd, gets the blame. If you hear a Tim joke that doesn't quite work, no, Tim, that was the turdiest turd.
It's fun. Hey, I just realized.
Hey, what?
Caddyshack. Floating a turd means worst joke. But they floated a turd in that pool. And if you're a little kid watching that was like the best joke in the movie.
When I was a little kid watching that, I
know.
I couldn't believe how funny it was. Like I remember laughing so hard I couldn't breathe.
They turned it on its head, George.
Wow. When Bill Murray grabs the Baby Ruth and bites it, it was like, it doesn't get any better than this.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Let's see. We get a little bit of foreshadowing that Ryan is adopted. We learned actually weirdly.
That's a
this
joke.
Is another.
That's a joke, George.
I know, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Come on. We learned that he works. That the business he didn't want to work in the beginning is the Waverly Water Works, which because weirdly, Deb is actually really good at her job as a reporter. She goes, that's the most environmentally unsafe business in the whole state.
She knows everything.
Yep. They go to the Yule Market to pick up her
Ruby.
Friend Ruby. That's her name.
Christmas shop.
And right before they go,
Ye old Christmas shop, George.
Ye old. No, it was called Yule Mart.
Oh, come on. Oh, okay. That's a good joke.
Were you
Yule
making
Mart.
a joke? Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
Oh,
I couldn't remember. Yule Mart's good.
I love the bit that she has a gun with 2 bullets in her glove compartment. He's like, you had a gun this whole time? She's like, it was there when I bought the car.
You're talking about Debbie.
I like how dodgy
that was a good
Deb
joke.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you forget, they get Ruby, but Ruby's a zombie, you forgot, and they shove her in the trunk. They trick her.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. They trick her into the trunk and leave her trapped in the trunk because he suggested maybe they could be saved, and she's like, maybe we could save her. And Tim, know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a comment here.
A comment?
Do you think it's funny that this movie is called Night of the Living Deb, but it's pretty much set entirely during the day?
Well, she spent a night with him that set this all off.
She does. Spoilers.
And
but
we
this
never
was
knew
my
what
way
happened.
of setting.
We never knew what happened, really.
We don't. I assume she just passed out. But Tim, this is really me setting up my list.
Why was she naked then? Yep. Okay. The list.
If you know, so this movie owes a lot to another film that we've probably all seen. Actually, one of my, Tim, to bring up controversy again.
The Shining?
One of my top 10 favorite films, Shaun of the Dead.
Well, that's good. That's up there.
Yeah. Okay. So, and they both have a similar naming convention. And that naming convention is you take a famous horror film and you switch out one word or syllable with like just a normal person's name. And then it kind of like paints a picture of like what the movie is already. So Shaun of the Dead, we don't know who Shaun is, but we know this is probably a takeoff of Dawn of the Dead. Yep. Night of the Living Deb, we don't know who Deb is, but we know it's probably a takeoff of Night of the Living Dead and that she's alive.
It's Debbie. George.
Yes, Tim, I know.
Spoilers. Go ahead.
What you're doing. So I have a couple of my list is other movies that have replacements of just the same. Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it is.
Claws.
Right, number one, Claws. Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
Let me talk. Do you want to go first?
No, I know Claws is not in there. That's why I'm like Claws. Jaws.
What is
Claws. The bear movie we watched.
Oh,
I know.
Wow.
I know it's not going to be on your list. I'm just
There's all kinds of levels I didn't get at that one because you said Claus. I was thinking Santa Claus.
Yep.
Isn't there actually a movie called Claus that stars Kurt Russell?
Yep. Yeah. It's Santa Claus.
Yep.
Sorry, I apologize. I zipped my mouth.
Where was I? Okay.
Start your list.
So we have number one is Shaun of the Dead. Number 2, Night of the Living Deb. Number 3 is a little bit of a freebie. From Dusk Till Dawn. But instead of dawn like the beginning of the day, it's Dawn, the woman's name.
Oh, okay.
Yep. This one's for you, Tim. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Kurt. It's about a guy named Kurt who goes nuts with the chainsaw and makes leather skin for his face from it.
His name was Kurt? Wait. We don't know his name.
In the version I'm saying, yes. These are hypothetical films, Tim.
I know.
The Hills Have Eileens. This is about a bunch of mutants named Eileen that live near a nuclear place.
Oh, I thought they sang that song. Come on, Eileen.
See. Also that, yeah.
Wouldn't that be scary?
Yeah, Dexy's Midnight Runners. That's all about them. That was the original name. Then there is the Bear Rich Project. That's a found footage thing about a naked man wandering through the woods. Yeah. Rich doesn't wear clothes. This one is for Rich Little? Rich Little, yes. The 1970s, surprising
Richie
everybody.
No, I don't want to see Richie Rich naked.
Who else? Richard Nixon, he's old, Tim. How about that? Yeah. Who else is old that you could mention?
With the name Richard?
How about Poor Richard's Almanac to tie it in with your Benjamin Franklin bit?
Reed Richards, leader of the Fantastic Four.
It's his last name, but yeah. Okay. Let me try to get through this list before you derail it further.
Okay.
A Nightmare on Ellen Street. Ellen moves into this new town, right? Yes. And she's like got this nice spot, and she hears through her neighbors. She hears them. They're always watching like spaghetti westerns and stuff. And she's like, "What sort of twisted sickos live here?" And she looks in their garbage, and there's just so many empty wrappers of Oreos. That's right. Yeah, this is a movie about our occasional co-host, Kevin Cablasto.
But he's not named Ellen.
No, Ellen is the hero. He's the villain.
Oh, I thought Ellen might be Ellen of talk show fame. And
it could be. That's possible, Tim.
These names really have thrown me.
Yes. You are not getting this premise at all. You're just like, how do I derail this as much as possible? This next one's for you, Tim. Are you ready?
Okay.
This movie is not typically thought of as a horror film, but it's called Passion of the Chris Who Doesn't Listen to Our Podcast.
See, now I know who Chris is. Got it.
Yes, you do. Chris is our friend who doesn't listen to the podcast. In this movie, he is crucified and beaten mercilessly by his children for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yep. And the final one, this one's really for you, Tim. Are you ready?
Okay.
This one is called Tim Bandits.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. It's
named after Tim from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
No, it's named after you, Tim. And in this movie, a group of little people who are filming a big Hollywood movie in the 1930s find a map through all space and time. And they use this to steal great treasures. They appear in your closet, and you befriend them. And unfortunately, one by one, they start turning up hanged dead on the set of Wizard of Oz.
You beat me to it. Yes.
Yep.
One by one. There was only one.
Well, in this version, you kill them all. I think each time you go back in time and hang one, it creates a new splinter reality.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because you're altering. So the reality we know now, only one of them, we only know about one of them. But if you go the next universe over, different one's dead. Yeah. There's a reason nobody's seen a Munchkin in years. You murdered them all.
But George.
Yes, Tim.
Unbreakable, Wizard of Oz. What is the hero in Unbreakable? What's his weakness?
Water.
The witch in the Wizard of Oz. What is her weakness?
Water. Tim, I'm going to go you one
better. Is
Bruce
Willis a witch, or was the witch a secret hero?
I've never seen the two of them together. I assume they're the same person.
Oh, okay. That could be. They're shapeshifters.
Yeah. Yeah. Or who knows? Margaret Hamilton, if that is her real name, right. She's definitely wearing green face paint and a prosthetic nose and a big hat. Who's to say that's not the ageless Bruce Willis?
Could be.
Yeah.
That's been your Wizard of Oz corner.
Yep. We're a good podcast. I hope to God that the creators of Night of Living Deb are listening to be like, what is this garbage?
We enjoyed your movie. We just like to talk about other things.
Yeah.
That the movie inspires.
Yeah. And here's a fun fact about Tim. You never know which Tim is going to show up on recording day.
It's the same one, right?
No, you're different Tim every time. Who knows?
Wow.
This is the Tim who came today who's like, I'm just going to be a disruption. That was the Tim today.
Your names. They confused me. I'm like, John who? John that we know? Okay. I don't know. That's how I took it.
I didn't do the name John. That's like a name I didn't do. All right, let's get back into the plot real quick. I'll try to move this quicker, right? So they finally get to Ryan's house where his dad is and his brother lives, his brother Chaz.
Topper.
And they still
I thought his name is Topper.
No, Chaz.
Oh, he's got a gun. He's patrolling.
Oh,
he's like
Topper is the guy who is
patrolling. All right.
Yeah, he's the dude that works for the father. I just remind everybody, Ruby is still trapped in the trunk. Yes. They get to the house. He makes a funny line where he describes himself as he's got a lot of money. His look is burnished rugged. I like that. His brother Chaz is there in a ghillie suit. He kills the zombie. The code for the gate is boobs, which I liked.
Yes.
And they get in. They meet his dad. His dad is for that guy from Twin Peaks, Ray Wise.
And he was in RoboCop. He's Ray.
Oh my God, you're right. He's one of the bad guys in RoboCop.
Yep.
Holy shit. Yeah. So pretty cool to see that guy in this.
So this guy, he's the villain. He polluted the water, basically. He's the guy who's like, and he's like, oh, no, that didn't happen. And there's a helicopter coming to get us. And we're holding up here.
If you remember, because it said it's the Waverly water production thing, like the most crooked business in the state. And he just says straight up, we put a virus in this thing. And unfortunately, Deb, who he has revealed is a good reporter who somehow knows a lot of the shit about it. Mm-hmm. She kind of is like, we learned it's called the Ichabod virus. I don't know if that's important or anything.
Wrong state, people.
Yeah, that's more of a upstate New York thing, right?
Yeah. So He makes brownies that have the American flag painted on it, and he insists that Deb eat a bite. And I'm right away, I'm suspicious.
It's like it's clearly drugged.
She takes a little bite, but then she gives it to this portly man, Potter, who is patrolling the grounds with a gun. He's like,
shooting zombies.
I'll eat that. I'll eat the whole brownie because that's a funny joke.
Did he talk?
No, but the expression on his face was a child getting a brownie.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be simple.
Yeah, so they stay overnight.
We should mention this.
I mixed up with my notes. Yes.
Stacy, the ex-girlfriend
she is there,
of Ryan, has shown up there, and she's been there since the night before. Mm-hmm. And we learn in a little bit of dialogue between the brother Chaz, who turns out he's the adopted one, not the other, not Ryan. Like, the dad says to Chaz, he's like, stop trying to sleep with Stacy. Wasn't once enough.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, never. So we learned that she went there after breaking up with them, had sex with Chaz, and was there in place when the zombie apocalypse happened.
And they all go to bed, and Stacy sneaks into Ryan's room, which is upstairs from Deb's room. And she's all mad about Deb and said, is this what it was like? And she jumps around on the bed, mimicking sex sounds. Everybody in the house thinks that Ryan and Stacy are having sex.
Yeah, we see Chaz downstairs who's sad. He's eating a hot dog all weird because there's like this.
That was weird.
I will say this. Like this, she's jumping in the bed making sex noises. It's got to be like 10 minutes straight because of everything that happens.
Yes.
Chaz gets to eat a whole hot dog. And Deb hears this. And she's like, well, I'm not going to stick right in here. She goes, leaves, gets in her car.
You say he ate the whole hot dog?
Yeah, didn't you? They have literally like slow. He's like just smushing a hot dog in his face.
So Stacy leaves.
Deb leaves.
Deb leaves with Ruby in the trunk.
Yep.
And then the zombies attack them because that brownie was full of tranquilizer and it knocked out Topper, who's supposed to be guarding them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think also, I kind of assume this is probably what happened, that because the zombies show up as soon as Deb leaves, do you think she leaves open the gate too?
That could be. They should have shown that.
Yeah. So, zombies are storming now. We see Topper is out cold. And let's see.
They like attack. They bite Stacy. They
don't just bite Stacy. They
eat her.
They eat Stacy. Stacy runs outside looking for her cats. The Chaz gets bit. The zombies get into the house. The dad and Ryan are fighting them. And
that's about it. They kind of leave you wondering what happened because Deb gets to a roadblock with some militia people.
Yep.
They want her to get out and they want to ask her questions. Blah blah blah.
And it's a funny mix between, like, you see them as soon as you pull up, you're like, oh, these are bad guys.
Yes, they're militia.
And like the one guy, it was such a weird bit. Like, I wonder if you thought this was funny. She asked something about like, so you think you'll let me go on my way? And the guy goes, let me put it this way. And there is the craziest long pause where the guy's making this kind of weird face. And then he gets up a little fart and he goes, that's a no.
Yes. It was weird. It made me hate him.
He was definitely a character to hate. Like, that was on purpose.
So they do show Ray Wise driving with Ryan because they do escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have Chaz in the back seat.
And they're playing John Cougar, Mellencamp, and Ray and Ryan's like, he's called John Cougar now, Dad.
And I don't listen to him for years. And I wasn't really sure. Maybe I don't know enough about John Cougar Mellencamp these days. But
I can tell you.
Is this a list?
No, I'm just saying. First, his name was John C. And then it was John Cougar. Mm-hmm. And you remember this? And then it was John Cougar Mellencamp. And then they used his full name, John Cougar Honeydew Mellencamp. And then he shortened it to... Never mind.
Steve.
Then he shortened it. Then he became the artist formerly known as John Cougar Mountain Lion Mellencamp.
Then he became...
it's a symbol of a little pink house. There.
Oh, a little pink house is for you and me. And then he became John, sexually aggressive middle-aged woman Mellencamp.
Did he do that?
Yep.
Oh, no.
And then he became John Cougar...
did that really happen?
No.
What's
going on with you, Tim? Did you become overly literal?
No, I thought you were telling me he got accused of sexual assault.
No, because
I didn't know it. No?
They call older, like, horny ladies a cougar.
Man. I don't know what's going on tonight.
Tim.
This movie is too good. You ruined it. The movie is too good. Yeah,
I
John
did
Cougar.
enjoy this movie. This is
so the militia take her blood. I wouldn't be letting you take my blood.
Yeah. And we should mention they're kind of like a BlackRock thing. Like they're definitely. She even asked, like, "You're not the military." He's like, "No, we're not." But they take her blood. They reveal she's actually not infected. So she's like, "Cool, let me go." He's like, "Nah, you would have had a better luck if, in fact, you were infected. We're looking for people." At that moment, it looks the dim. That's when Ryan and the dad pull up.
Yep.
And they're like, "Hey, that's Stacy's car." Now the dad is definitely the villain, but he's surprisingly already is beginning to have a turn of heart. Because he runs in and he's like, "Hey, let her go." And they punch him in the belly. He's like, "Don't you know who I am? The mayor's going to get me out of here." And then the mayor appears. The mayor's like this little 4-foot tall guy that reminded me of, who was the guy that did the voice of Gollum? Brother Theodore? In fact, I know because of Tim. He's this weird little dude. He reminded me of him. I don't really know. You know what, Tim? Curse to me, I don't know what Brother Theodore really looks like. I just know what Gollum looks like.
You weren't here for that episode.
I was, in fact, there for that episode, wasn't I? At least I listened to it. I only know about it because of you. Okay. Mayor shows up. He's like, "Bad news, guy from Twin Peaks. We're going to blame this whole thing on you. You're not going anywhere." And they punch him in the belly.
Yes. And then Ryan
and the
says,
dad's like, the dad is being a good guy. He's like, "Let the young ones go." And then Ryan says, "Yeah, you should let us go because Deb is a reporter. She's been filming on her secret camera the whole time." Deb's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, she's probably hidden the footage around here somewhere."
It's in her hair.
Like, "What are you talking about?" And they had named her car. Was it Otis? Like the elevator company?
No, like the character from Otis. Superman, George.
Oh. And the BlackRock guys realize, like, "Hey, that's her car out there." And he's like, "I sure hope it isn't in the trunk." And they open up the trunk. And Ruby jumps out and eats the mayor.
Eating everybody. Just attacking
and the soldiers are shooting each other left and right. And she runs off into the woods safely.
She does do something funny where Debbie says, "Ruby," like she ate a bunch of people, and Ruby looks at her for a moment, like funny look, and then runs off into the woods. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's weird. Well, yeah. And she bites Frank, who is the guy from Twin Peaks, and she runs off. And Frank, he's like, "Well, we're going to save I have to go out a hero." He grabs a gun from the soldiers and he's like, "Come get me." And he lets Ryan and Deb race back to Portland.
They race back to where she works because they're going to get the news out. That's what they want to do.
Well, eventually they do. First, they're, just hanging out eating ice cream.
Can't we skip
No, because I set up some stuff. There was a really... So because this is actually the character development bit where they're actually learning they really like each other.
Yeah.
And they're talking. It's a really cute bit where they're having ice cream in the city that's destroyed. They're like the only two people left. And she calls back to that weird story she told about her dad in the backyard.
I wrote this down.
And she goes, "Ryan, I have to tell you, he wasn't really changing the propane. He was exposing himself to the neighbor's dog."
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It is. Because then she said, "Basset Hound," or something.
Yeah. And Basset Hound was I don't know. So then they do realize, because she's a reporter, that she could go back to the station because they know that the report, they're still on the air because it sends the tape stuff. They could send out information about what's really happening because the cover story is there was a radiation leak and they're just going to burn the entire city down.
Yep.
Now, Tim, I'm going to interject with some real life shit here.
Huh?
This local TV station
is real.
It's real. I've been there. I have been on that local TV.
Oh, cool.
Years past, when I was a guest at a signing there, I did some local promotion at that the same studio. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So I was like, I've been there. I've touched everything there. So everyone at the station is a zombie. Deb, she's always wanted to be an on-air personality. She goes clean. They figured how to broadcast. She goes and gets all hot. You can see these two are falling in love. She gives the truth.
George, she just puts on a nice dress. She
looks hot.
Yeah, okay.
She does. And you see Ryan's like, "Oh."
I think my note here has, she becomes hot. Yes, I wrote that down. So it happened.
Got to check my notes. If it doesn't say it, it's not true. And
they do walk by the
big news.
The morning crew, by the way. Remember?
Yep.
Because they come into this story, but the morning crew are locked in their conference room, all zombies.
All zombies, just all going crazy. And she says what's really happening, that like, you know, they're zombies
on air.
And the real news story is a girl fell in love, and she's saying this stuff, and then one of the zombies breaks in and bites her. You're like, oh,
right in the shoulder.
Right in the shoulder. Ryan shoots him.
With that
they're running through
pistol they have.
The pistol that's got 2 shots, yeah. He shoots another guy, and he throws the third one at the news lady's face and kills her with the gun.
They run around for a while.
Yep.
They get locked into a room somewhere, don't they?
They're hiding in like the break room, I think, for a while.
Yes, and then they go up to the roof.
They decide to get up to the roof, and there's definitely a scene where like she's bitten, so it's like a ticking time clock. You figure
she goes, "How long do I have before the changes?" And he says,
"We've never actually seen anybody turn."
No, he says women don't go through changes till they're like 40 or 55. Debbie, don't worry. Joke for the ladies out there.
I'm sure they, you know, I don't know everything about women, but I know what women who are perimenopausal love is like old dudes making jokes about. They're like, hey, that's a good joke. You're funny.
Send letters.
And folks, if you're enjoying this sort of humor, understand this is a real hallmark of SETI BIMCO. Write us a letter at SETI BIMCO at the end at gmail.com. Remember, that's Tim who said that.
So they go to the roof. Seems all's lost, right?
Well, we should mention that we do see out in the world that this newscast is going out and everyone's seeing it. It's going super viral. And as I wrote, newscast goes viral to a bunch of Maine looking motherfuckers. And so there's all this stuff, and they like there's news reporters saying like, well, we've actually confirmed this woman works at the station. Her previous job, I love this line, she was employed at a Lady Foot Locker until she was let go for staging an unauthorized sock puppet production of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, I saw it. That doesn't seem like her. But
I don't know, she seems like, if you think of the early version of her, she seems kind of mentally ill, so it makes sense to me. We see all these people who I am pretty certain, without actually checking, are probably backers of the Kickstarter.
Probably, yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And then they get to the roof. I write at this point, is this movie going to end? Because we are definitely getting into like Lord of the Rings Part 3 territory where like there's a lot going on. And she's beginning to turn, and she's like, I just want to eat your liver. And he's like, and he's so overcome with love for her. He's like, yeah, I will offer myself as food to you. And she's about to start eating him. And then we hear like tasers going off, and some paramedics run in, and they just run right up to her and they give her a shot. Like, okay, you're better now. She's like, wait, what? It turns out, which I fucking love, the bites are not communicable.
Nope.
And like,
just the water.
That's the whole. It's just the water. The water, if you showered in or drank, you get it. But like, and the guy even says, like, the paramedic, which I guess probably makes sense, is like, think about how hard it would be affected by being bit. The other person biting you would have to have a gushing mouth wound. And even then, it's a chance of 1 in 1,000. And then they stop for a second. And he goes, what are you, some kind of zombophobe? And Ryan goes, no, some of my best friends are zombies.
Right.
Probably. I'm like, that's a good line.
Good lines, people. Good lines.
It's just so fucking funny that she's such a lunatic that she was basically just going to eat him, and she wasn't even a zombie.
Yep. And then they come bomb the city, though, to kill the...
Well, Frank and Chaz run in, and it turns out they're alive, but they've been arrested. And because there's a whole thing where like Chaz knew the soldiers because he's a weird paramilitary guy, and they're weird paramilitary guys. And they help solve the virus, and they're bombing it anyway, because I guess once you have the virus... you're fucked. So they bomb Portland. That's it.
The end.
Oh, and they kiss.
They kiss.
And by they, I mean Chaz and the dad. It's a really weird way to end the movie.
And Debbie and Zombie Ruby.
Yeah.
No. At the end of these, we like to point out, I do, how the movie is like Star Wars. So this one. At the start at the bar. Uh-huh. Like in Tatooine, they went to that seedy bar at the start. If you look,
Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah, you look really closely in the background of this film, Night of Living Deb. You can see an old man slicing off another man's arm over a dispute over who's the most patriotic this 4th of July. That's how it's like Star Wars. There you go.
And because Tim has chosen to inflict this upon us, I always take the opportunity to point out this is like 1986's high fantasy masterpiece directed by Jim Henson, Labyrinth. And the way it is similar in that it was a movie.
Really? That's what you're going with?
Yep. That's what I'm going with this time.
I haven't even seen that movie. They're Muppets.
I know. So how dare you give a derisive
Muppets,
snort?
George.
You're like,
Muppets. She did a puppet show.
Tim,
puppet show.
You're right. That's how.
There you go. Now do mine better. Mine is terrible.
Do yours better?
Let's do revenge. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge. One of us will die.
You going to go first?
I'll go first. All right. So I've already said this many times. Oh, yeah, play the music. Woo, I almost started talking the music. How would people know if talking about a sequel, Tim? I'll tell you how, because I'm going to tell you the sequel. Revenge. So this movie, I made no secret, I really like this movie. Great cast. It's much better than it has any right to be, I will say. So that's awesome. But it does kind of wrap up kind of tightly if you think about it. The perpetrators of the crime are locked up, Chaz and the dad. The town of Portland is apparently razed by bombing.
Yeah.
So who's left to claim revenge? I don't think that we see Deb and Ryan worried about revenge because they have found happy love. But there are two people who are left unhappy. One is Stacy, who was nibbled on the spot out of town.
Thought she was dead.
Ex of Ryan. Well,
we don't know.
Here's the thing. I actually thought about this long and hard, Tim. We know that it turns out being bitten doesn't do anything, right?
Right.
It's all about the shower. She's literally earlier in the movie making fun. I should have mentioned this because this is an actual thing. Yeah. She's actually making fun of Deb because Deb looks like she hasn't showered.
True.
Making fun of her and stuff. And she's very clean looking, so she's clearly showered at some point. Especially if she got up to some naughty shenanigans with what's-his-name, the brother, the night before. So she had a delayed reaction zombitis going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So she rises from the dead, a half-gnawed skeleton. And all that she could think on her half-addled, her completely addled, partially eaten brain is she's like, I need to make Deb pay. And she starts shuffling across town. Unfortunately, because they've already bombed the town into non-existence, there's nobody there to spot her and stop this. So Deb and Ryan are just doing what they do, hanging out at empty coffee shops, sitting on roofs, watching fireworks, making out, doing the sex and stuff like that.
Being an odd couple.
It's closer, being an odd couple. Like she wants to eat like Fritos, and he's like, I only want to eat
lettuce.
Beets. Yeah. And it goes on and on like this. It's closer. Yeah. Oh, what does he want to eat instead of Oreos? He wants to eat Hydrox. Yeah, because that's healthy. Actually, there are the healthy version. He wants to eat the healthy version. They're just being this adorable couple as long as closer and closer, the shambling mess that is Stacy arrives. And just as she's about to have her revenge and eat the brains of Deb, out from the woods comes barreling the form of Ruby. That's right. Ruby was the other one. And we know Ruby retained enough of her intellect that she felt bad about what she'd done eating all those soldiers. And Deb and Stacy engage in a battle. They're wrestling back and forth. But, I mean, to put it delicately, Deb was not Deb.
Stacy.
Ruby was a bit bigger than Stacy.
Yeah.
She breaks Stacy and over her knee, throws the two pieces into the woods, and runs off again, where she was eventually spotted by Lauren Coleman of the International Cryptozoology Museum. And so it ends. The revenge was thwarted, yeah. And you know what this movie was called?
Ruby Tuesday, because it happened on Tuesday.
That would have been pretty good. Now, Return of the Living Deb.
Jeez, part 2?
Yep. No, that's actually a movie. Remember, that's the movie that they did after Night of the Living Dead. That was Return of the Living Dead. That's the one where like the lady calls herself trash and dances naked on top of the tombstone. It's a good movie.
I don't check your facts. Yeah. I take it. Take it as fact.
Yeah. You shouldn't, but you should. It's good. All right.
Here's my
What's
story.
Your story, Tim?
It'll be quick, unless you have all sorts of questions.
No, I don't think you can handle questions today. I threw out fictional names, and it was like you had a meltdown. So I'm just going to listen quietly. I'm going to drink water.
So after finding there's a cure for the zombie plague, and Ruth is cured, Ruby. Wait, her name is Ruby, right?
Yep.
I'm starting off bad here.
You didn't point at me, but answer the question anyway.
Ruby. Ruby is cured. But she's horrified. She ate some of her Christmas customers, and Debbie is horrified. She ran down some zombies with her car before they could be cured. And after his brush with death, Ryan decides he wants to write a screenplay, what he always wanted to do with his life. So they answer an ad in the Maine classified to take care of a big mansion where some author named Bachman lives. Yeah? Yeah.
When you say Maine classified, did you mean Maine the state or Maine like the principal?
No, Maine classified ads on Google.
Okay.
Craigslist. They checked Craigslist.
Okay. So Bachman, that's the author's name, huh?
Yep, they think it's a fake name, but he's going to Florida for the winter, and he needs someone to be the caretaker all winter.
Not Colorado, though, huh?
So all of them need a break after the horrible events of the zombie outbreak, so they all go to this mansion, and it's creepy with an iron gate that looks like spider webs and has iron bats on it. And Debbie takes to polishing the floors and tables so that they shine like new. And Ruby sits in a room where she talks to the finger she kept from one of her friends that she ate. It reminds her she's no longer into meat. She's taken a shine into eating vegetables.
Oh, but what's her beverage of choice, Tim? If she were to partake of an alcoholic beverage, perhaps one with a color affixed to it. Red rum.
A shine? No, red rum. Is that a color?
Well, no, it's an alcoholic beverage with the color attached. Red rum.
Blue
vodka.
True.
So
So
no more questions. You can't handle it today.
But all the finger says is, egg never. Egg never.
Egg never.
And Ryan works on his screenplay. It's about two dancers who live together. The publisher promised to pay him every month as he worked on it. And these two dancers, they're an odd couple. One of them loves twerking and hates pole dancing, while the other dancer loves pole dancing and hates twerking. The twerker... This is in the screenplay that Ryan's writing about an odd couple.
Thank you.
And the twerker, she calls herself Shining Red Rum because she murders it at every performance. And the pole dancer just polishes her pole until it shines, like it's a shiny new pole. And it's
getting multiple levels of shiny here, folks.
And Ryan, he even builds a pole in the backyard as research, even though Debbie and Ruby refuse to use it.
That's a bummer.
Winter sets in. There's a big snowstorm, and they're all snowed in for a month. And none of Ryan's paychecks arrive.
What? Aren't they in Florida?
No, Maine. This is the Maine mansion, while the owner goes to Florida for the winter.
This all makes sense now.
Yeah, they're all snowed in. Ryan's paychecks don't arrive, and all he did was watch twerking videos he bought for research, as Debbie would not dance on the pole in the backyard. And one day Debbie comes in to polish his typewriter, make it shine, and she sees what he's been typing all this time. And
I hope he's been playing at something.
Well, all he's been typing... You've lost me this week.
Yeah,
all this typing... All it said was, all twerk and no pay makes Jack a dull boy.
No pay.
That's all it says.
That was my reference. I think you say all twerk and no play. Okay, all twerk and no play.
That works too.
Yeah.
And suddenly he appears looking crazy, and he came after Debbie, and Debbie ran and met up with Ruby, who was only saying, egg never, egg never. And Debbie realizes that egg never backwards is revenge.
Whoa.
And the ghosts in this place wanted revenge for some reason they can't figure out. They ran
I'll tell
out.
You, one of those ghosts was definitely dressed up as a dog giving another ghost a blowjob.
Yes. Oh, yeah, she saw that.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
So they ran out.
Bachman, what's with your house?
They ran out into the snowstorm. And they went to the neighbor's house, Debbie and Ruby, where they called the police and they were fine. And the police came later, and they found Ryan stiff in the backyard with his tongue frozen to the dancing pole because one of those ghosts dared him to do it, I guess. I don't know.
What a dummy.
The end. It's called Shiny Unhappy People. That's my title.
I sure am glad Scatman Crothers didn't show up and catch an axe to the chest.
Didn't have room. No room for that.
That was pretty good, Tim. I love that it all came together.
I thought you'd do a Shining one.
I also really appreciate that you gave a description of the real, I think it's Bangor, Maine mansion
that's
of
his
Stephen
house.
King. He really does have a wrought iron fence surrounding it with spiders.
Have you been there?
I think I saw it. I didn't go into his house because Stephen King.
That's illegal.
And I are not buddies. Yeah, I tried, but all those
specifically illegal for George to go in Stephen King's house.
It's me specifically. He welcomes everybody else.
Yeah.
But I give him the idea for the book Misery. I'll just leave it at that. Tim, do we have any mail this week?
Oh, maybe I should check. Do we have mail? I will hit refresh.
Tim, we actually do have mail this week. And what a piece of mail it is. Not just some rando writing us. This is a letter from a creator of a previous Seddy Bimco film. Yes. This is a letter from Tim Wallach, and we're still not sure how to pronounce it, the writer and director of Beware the Clowns, previous Seddy Bimco movie.
Mm-hmm. From 2015.
Should I do a dramatic reading?
Sure. Does that mean I play drums?
Hey, guys. Just wanted to tell y'all, I listened to your review of Clowns with a K, yesterday while at work, and I couldn't stop laughing. I appreciate you being so even-handed and honest about your thoughts on the film. I'd absolutely love to chat with you guys more about the film and whatever else you have questions about. I currently work full-time as the digital content producer at ABC 57 News in South Bend, and my coworkers know about my films. So when I sent them your review, they were equally excited. Ha. I love that way that my mom and dad even listened to it last night. They said they were laughing nonstop. They thought you two were a total riot. And I think it continues a little bit. Oh, no, that was pretty much the whole thing. There's other parts we should read.
They laughed so hard they fell out of bed, and he had to... Anyway, no, there was no PS. I'm going with that.
The PS was, please don't let Tim put fake words into my mouth.
Yes.
And they wrote, PPS, this is Tim Wallach. I meant Tim Hamilton.
Right.
And I wrote back, Tim, you got it, because I understand what it's like when Tim takes the words for you. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really nice that I know Tim, my co-host, has expressed fear in the past about doing any film after Star Wars because he's worried that the producers will come and be upset. Mm-hmm. And while we did have a few things to poke gently fun at Beware the Clowns, all in all, that was a movie we really enjoyed, and we had a good time talking about it, just like we did this one. So, thank you, Tim, so much for taking the time to write us, and I hope we do have a chance to have you on. We would love to have a chance to have you on, talk about you and clowns and your dad and clowns, because we found a whole weird thing about that. I know that sounds ominous, but it'll make sense if we have you on.
Saying his dad is weird. He's fine.
his dad. Look, I'm just saying, you type in Tim Wallach and clowns, you're going to see two generations of the Wallach family who have a lot to do with clowns. It's noteworthy. That's all I'm just going to say.
Okay. Yes,
all right,
thank you.
So, Tim,
thank you.
We are in spooky October time.
This is the week before Halloween.
Week before.
George gets to pick Halloween. Let's see if he messes up and picks some sort of new movie.
So bad. It's going to be Home Alone 4.
Mine. Yeah,
yours.
Mine. Easy.
Yours.
It's on
what
YouTube,
state?
George.
YouTube.
Nevada. And I checked. It was made in Nevada. You love the year 1957, don't you?
Nope. Already not going to watch. I think Kevin Kablaster needs to step in for this episode.
No, you're going to like this. The Amazing Colossal Man. Did you see it as a kid?
Yes, I've seen. I think I actually own on DVD somewhere the version of this from Mystery Science Theater.
Uh-oh. I don't remember them doing that. So
it was a really hard one to find because they lost the rights for it. So it was only available for a little bit. I remember paying special for this.
It's on YouTube, people.
YouTube, huh?
Nice quality on YouTube.
Yeah, this is if you like movies about big, smooth, hairless guys wearing giant diapers. Oh, brother, do we have the movie for you?
That's right, giant diapers. Forgot that. Wow.
Oh, man, I don't. The movie upset me.
Oh, at the beginning of the show, we would say, which of us ate cake found in a bar?
Oh, that's true. Do you want to answer that question, Tim?
It was George.
That's not true. You're a dirty liar.
As people at a party, they ate one piece of their cake. All I did was cut an inner part out. Nobody could have licked it. That's all. It's good cake.
All right, Tim, I just gotta let you know.
What?
I'm on IMDb looking.
Hey, it said Nevada.
It does. It is more. You know what? It's between Nevada, Arizona, and one scene in California. This counts. Good movie. I'm excited to watch this one again.
All right, we should say goodbye. It's gonna be
let's get this guy here. Yep.
Get this guy.
Leave
here.
It long.
No, it's hard to edit.
Leave it long.
I'm gonna say goodbye
like
to you.
It.
I'm saying goodbye to you.
Bye. Everyone loves him long. Bye.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Grafted into becoming like killer clowns.
George. Phone. Turn off phone.
What's going on with your phone?
I like when
What's going on?
Stop.
Why is that playing? Where is this playing?
I don't know. What is that now?
How come I have the speaker turned off? There.
Wow.
That was that other music, dancing music. That was, you know what that is. That was like Fire and Ice, Fire and.
Honestly, that sounded like Barry Manilow to me.